You're through to 1-800-DRAMA,
the show where you share your biggest dilemmas.
and we help you navigate them.
I'm Shaaba.
And I'm Jamie.
Come join us as we help people figure out if they are the drama.
Because sometimes you just need an outside perspective.
And we can all expand our own mindsets along the way.
Wait, am I the drama? Red flag, green flag, Shaaba.
Hit me.
Gossiping.
Oh, I'm a big gossiper.
I know.
I used to be like, I don't gossip. But the
Yeah.
reality is, I think we all gossip a little bit.
I think we all
And I do gossip. There is a difference though, okay? So I'm going to green flag gossiping because it's in within our human nature to like figure out what people
Have
are
a
doing.
chat, debrief with friends.
Do you know what I bad?
Red flag.
Thank you. I was like, bad flag. That's not right.
Bad flag.
I bad flag gossiping with negative intent.
Yes.
Because there is a difference. If you're
Yeah.
gossiping to shit stir, if you're gossiping not to provide information that could be useful to that person, because you're trying to put somebody else down who either that person does know and it would detriment their relationship when they didn't need to hear that, that's very different.
Yes.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, gossiping with malice towards the person you're gossiping about
Yes.
is different to just being like, besties, I really need to have a little rant about something that happened with this person, or like, did you hear this thing? And
So got their comeuppance. Isn't it nice to see
Yeah.
Mama Karma's doing her thing?
Yeah.
Just saying.
That kind of thing. Or like where the gossiping is because you've been impacted by the person you're talking about and you
Yes.
need to discuss it.
Exactly.
You've got a personal thing. But if you're gossiping, we can all have a little chat about like a celebrity or something. There's a difference there. But if you're like,
I actually don't like that.
oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
funny. Like, it's,
you don't like speculative gossiping.
yeah, I'm all about making fully informed decisions, even with my gossip. Do you know what I mean? Like, if someone's talking shit about
Mildly
certain celebrities, I can be like, oh, wow. But I always end up feeling bad for that person because I'm like, it's so unfair that your dirty laundry is being hung up in this way, and we don't know if it's the right dirty laundry.
I hear you. This is like where our lines are slightly different because I will have a gossip. But if you're like talking to your friend and there's a mutual and you know it's not your place to be like, oh my God, did you hear this thing about this person that's a secret? And you say it knowing that the people you're telling it to will share it on.
You're right. Maybe
yeah.
it's not intent. Maybe it's impact. Maybe that's the boundary of where like I draw between healthy and unhealthy gossip. Because if the impact of the gossip is that you're doing it with people that you absolutely trust and you're doing it because you want to make yourself feel better because you can process your feelings in that way.
Right.
Or be like, see, my faith in the world is restored because I've seen this bad thing happen to a bad being or a being that did a bad thing. Whereas like I would never gossip to say like, oh, I'm telling you this knowing that it's going to ruin this person's because they're going to lose opportunities or it's going to go around and become like, you know, like...
Unless it's 100% confirmed that somebody did a bad thing and they deserve that news to be spread so people stop supporting them.
And then the question is, what's the difference between gossip and news?
Yeah.
At that point, you know?
I love a good
Interesting.
gossip.
I feel like this is like a whole episode in itself.
We could do a gossiping app.
What do you think, Peaches? I feel like the people who are like, oh no, I don't gossip, are either like me from the past, lying to themselves and trying to be all
You
mighty
used to be
tighty.
very like, no
Very.
gossiping.
And hey, I have grown because
You have.
it's okay. Especially like, I feel like gossiping is just, it's kind of what we do on this podcast in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's spicy stories. I feel like I grow as a person from learning so much from the stories about this.
Well, because sometimes we can go in and be like, oh my gosh, guess what happened? And friends are a bit like, guys, you're overreacting slightly. And it's good to like,
or you can be like, look,
get that new
check
perspective.
Me on this.
Yeah.
Why am I so grumpy about this?
Yeah. And they can be
you
like,
learn where
it's
it's
coming from an internal place,
Very
Jamie.
that. Even to the point, I was just speaking to someone about this. I think it was on stream. Someone was doing a law degree and they were like, how did you like learn all of these cases for revision? And really, even legal cases are gossip. If you think
you just
about
turned it into a story.
Yeah, you just turn them into, because they are stories. They are real life stories of people's lives. And if you just see that as like, oh my God, and then so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. It's way easier to remember than in the case of R.V. White, the claimant.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So what's not gossip, really?
That was a good chat.
Do you have any gossip for us today?
No.
I too have no gossip, but I do have a huge thanks to give to you, my gorgeous, wonderful Peaches. This community, honestly, never ceases to astound me. I asked in the last podcast for you guys to stream my song Weird to help me reach this quota so that I could apply for funding. We needed 45,000 streams. And when I tell you, I was literally tearing because we not only smashed that goal in a matter of 3 days when I was thinking we wouldn't even get it, but it was worth trying in 2 weeks. This is honestly so wild to me that that's happened. It's all because of you. You've helped so much and you've completely bypassed it. We are now over 50,000 streams and I'm so grateful. Specifically on Spotify, which is what what was needed for this application. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful.
The heart of your bottom.
If you would like to listen to my other songs, you're very welcome to do that. This is me learning from the feedback of my community saying, stop being so guilty about
If you want to
asking me.
listen to some good music, go check out Shaaba on Spotify and stream some stuff.
It doesn't have to be on Spotify. And you can also pre-save my new single, Staying Groovy, which sounds a bit like this.
They say when you smile on the inside. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Tried 1,000 times, but I still feel a little blue.
Thank you. Right now, using the link downstairs in the description box always helps an independent musician when you pre-save their works. Whether it's me or anybody else, be sure you do follow through on those pre-save links if you can. It's entirely free, takes no time at all, and just means that it's right there on your playlist. Stop it. Jamie's giving eyes to the camera for those of you who can see. All right, Jamie, are you ready to go fishing for
Drama.
Let's go. Ooh, drama.
Am I the drama, Shaaba?
Always.
For not letting my stepsister come on my, quote, siblings only trip because she wasn't adopted until she was 15.
This sounds harsh.
I'm immediately like, if that is the reason, then yes. If you get on, and oh my God, I would invite best friends on a siblings only trip who I get on really well with. Like, the siblings don't have to be blood. Siblings don't have to be legal. It's the people that are that connection in your life.
A wonderful teaching moment here on chosen family,
Yes,
which
sorry.
I do agree. But I also see, siblings only trips for other people, especially for non-LGBT plus people.
Yeah,
it can mean a
and
very
especially
different
for people with multiple siblings that they're close to.
But like an adopted
Fine.
sibling is still a sibling.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know. I'm intrigued. How old are you? How long has this person been in your life? What is the reason? Shall we read on?
Imagine if we like adopted two kids at separate times and they're like, no, I'm not inviting my sibling onto the sibling trip because they're adopted, but they're both adopted so they don't invite each other. You're not laughing. You're not laughing.
I mean, objectively, I personally don't find it funny, but what I am finding really endearing is how funny you find it.
No.
And now it makes it funny to me.
Read a post, please.
Ooh, let's try and help some people out. Ready?
Yeah.
Don't make me laugh. OP says, I'm a 23-year-old woman and I've planned a trip with my bio siblings.
Instantly,
Getting a
I'm
bad
like,
vibe. I know, right? Okay, trying to keep an open mind. My bio siblings, 25-year-old man, a 20-year-old woman, and an 18-year-old man.
Right.
Right, so there's 4 genetically related kids, 2 girls, 2 boys, brothers and sisters. Okay. As a way to reconnect after our dad's passing. It was meant to be just us, like when we were kids.
Okay.
Right.
If it's a specific thing for the dad's passing and maybe the adopted sibling didn't even know their dad.
That would make sense, wouldn't
But
it?
that's a completely different question to what's been asked so far.
Yes.
So let's, yeah.
And also, when I say that would make sense, it would make sense if what you're doing is a trip to honour your dad.
Yeah.
Which is very different to just going and bonding with siblings.
Yeah.
So I could understand that justification. Let's see. I have a feeling I'm going to have to do some math, and you are significantly better at that than I am. Also, condolences to your dad passing, my love. My dad remarried when I was 13. And his stepdaughter, who is now a 21-year-old woman, came into our lives then.
Oh, so she knew him. That's her stepdad.
Oh, is the stepdaughter the adopted child?
Yeah, okay.
Let's read to the end of the sentence and then we can unpack
Sorry.
it. My dad remarried when I was 13 and his stepdaughter, a 21-year-old woman, came into our lives then. She wasn't adopted until 15 and never really connected with us. No, I do need some help. I'm sorry. So your dad remarried when you were 13, so this was 10 years ago.
Yes, and that's when the stepdaughter was 11.
Yeah. She was 11. And so she was adopted sibling, is dad's kid from a previous mama.
Dad remarried when I was 13. So it's their stepmom's daughter.
So at remarrying, right. Okay, so at the age of 11, child is 11, came into this blended family with OP's mama.
I don't know, but through OP's dad.
Remarried. All right, so stepdaughter who is now with OP's pa, but not OP's mum.
Yes.
Right, has come in when she was 11 and OP was 13.
Yeah.
And this was 10 years ago. Okay, so adopted daughter became adopted daughter 4 years afterwards.
Yes.
But has been in the family.
For 10 years.
So in the family for 10 years, officially adopted for 6, and it has now been 10 years when dad has now passed.
Yeah.
What the frick is up with OP. Why would you leave someone out like that? Okay, she found out and accused me of bunnies excluding her from the family. My stepmom is furious, but the others agreed it was just for us. So am I the drama?
Oh, I feel like this post is a little too short because my gut is immediately going, yes, you are.
We need some more information.
But I do feel like there is something else going on, especially with that never really connected with us line.
So we put the no need more information badge up for sure.
Yes.
But on the information that we have, what do we think? And as always, it's important to do this because the advice is more important than the badge. We're doing this to try and help people out who may also be in a similar position.
I'd say on the face of it, if this is all the information, you are the drama.
I can understand why stepmom is furious because regardless of the fact that she is bio mum to the adopted kid, it's also really hard because we don't have names.
Yeah.
It's one child being left out of a unit that have been together for 10 years.
Yeah, and even if
years.
the siblings feel like they didn't really connect with each other,
clearly
with the blended
the dad
family,
did.
the dad adopted her. That's no longer her stepdad, that's her dad, who's also passed away. So if you're having a trip to honour your dad's passing, that's also her dad
too. Both legally, because she's literally adopted, but also
figuratively.
Yeah, and I just don't think we should be underplaying what that feels like. It feels like this person's like, you know what, you don't share our blood, you didn't know him for 11 years.
Yeah.
So you were 13. Yes, that is I'm trying to think. Well, the 18-year-old.
The 18 was 8.
Was 8.
Yeah.
So, of course, if the 8-year-old was there and there's a 13-year-old there, they're going to have the same kind of relationship with the dad. It's not like that's a crazy age where you guys are all in your 30s and this new kid is 8. And therefore, for 25 years, that was the case. And she only came in really when he was
her age is like in the middle of everybody else's age.
Like
I think what's confusing as well is like it's not super duper common from my knowledge for stepkids to be adopted by their step parent. That's quite a big step to take. So the fact that the dad adopted her really indicates something. And OP's like, she wasn't adopted until 15. And it's like a lot of stepkids are never adopted, but they're still
You're so right.
children.
It's very bizarre to me that that's even being brought up as a point.
Yeah, it should actually be, oh, and my dad adopted her. Maybe we really should include her in this because often step-parent, stepchild relationships can be really bonded and really close and very parental. Sometimes they're not.
They can also not.
But just like biological parents or even adoptive parents can be close or not close.
Yeah.
It all depends on that relationship.
It definitely feels like OP, especially using the terms like bio-siblings, which I understand here is also being done as sort of like a technical way to differentiate. But like it feels like there is no empathy or passion coming from this fact. I understand people grieve. It feels like OP saying, well, my grief is more important than their grief because this was my bio dad.
Yeah, and you weren't adopted until you were 15, so
and it's very bizarre to me, that kind of level or behaviour, especially because if what you're doing is to bond and reconnect. This kid, this additional sibling, surely you would want to reconnect with even more if this is how you're feeling that you're not as close.
Yeah.
What is the point in keeping that separate?
The one caveat is if the adopted sibling, for genuine reasons, they just do not get on with her. Like if she is problematic, they don't get on, there is not a close relationship there.
Sure. In which case, you are not doing it because they are an adopted person.
Yeah.
It's because there is a rift in the family.
It's like,
you don't invite the person that you're estranged to.
What if you don't get on with your 20-year-old bio sister, but you do get on with your 21-year-old adoptive sister? It's nothing to do with the blood or the bond or the age of adoption. It's to do with the connection.
Because of the purpose of this trip being a reconnection of the dad's passing, I would still actually expect that person to be reached out to in some way, unless they've done something so
horrific.
Grave and horrific, exactly, where they are like a horrible, horrible person. But if that's not the case, then this is a trip to commemorate a dad that you have all lost.
Yeah.
And it just feels really quite tone deaf to be excluding and using this as the excuse.
I think it's really weird to do like a siblings only trip and be like, but you have to be this level of sibling to be invited.
There is one other world in which I could see maybe this being somewhat justified. But you're right, that was information that you'd think as an OP they would put into the post.
Because OPs tend to want to make them look best.
And understand.
Yeah.
And maybe we have some information in the comments, let's see. But I would think that one justification would be if perhaps they didn't get on with stepmom. If it was a really separate family and actually the units were very similar, they didn't grow up or live together, and sort of dad in his remarrying, quote unquote, left, right? The original 4 kids to be in this new family setup, which is why they never saw each other. And now that dad has passed, they have no intentions or connections with the stepmom. Then I can understand why there'd be like a big old split in the family.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I do hear you.
But I don't think that would be
It
the
is
case.
a niggle to me that there's still OP's still referring to adoptive sibling as dad's stepdaughter because she was adopted. She's no longer a stepdaughter. It's like you're downgrading purposefully.
Feels like there's a big hierarchy. And
Yeah.
I'm questioning OP. Why do you feel the need to place labels on like that?
And that's why overall this post does need more information.
My gut is telling me that you are the drama.
Yeah, same. I'd like to see what other people have to say though.
Shall we see?
In the year, I don't think OP wants a relationship with her.
I see that. I do see that. At the same time, and perhaps other people will call this splitting hairs, I think if that's the case, be honest with your intentions.
Yeah.
Say, I don't like this person, so that's why I've not invited them.
Yeah.
Don't say,
It's
oh,
because
it's
she
because
was
this person was
at 15.
adopted.
Yeah.
And therefore she doesn't belong on this trip, because she has every right to be there if it's a commemorative trip for your dad. You have every right to exclude her because it's your trip. But just because you're excluding her and have the right to exclude her does not make you not the asshole for doing so.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
That was a really horrifically phrased way of saying it.
You
You
have
can
free
exclude.
will, but you are
But
going.
it's a bad thing
Yeah.
to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to own up that someone is going to get hurt because you are doing that.
Yeah.
That's my verdict.
It makes sense for people to want to travel and spend time with those they care about and get along with. Yes. However, the idea that your dad, you at 13, and your 15, 10, and 8-year-old siblings made a combined household with a stepmom and her 11-year-old, and you 4 bio siblings never bonded with that 11-year-old really makes me sad for your step sibling.
Yeah. Which is why I think we need that extra information.
more
Like, were you
information.
living in the same house? Was this fully a
Exactly.
blended family?
Totally agree. Your post is unclear, but you seem to be asserting that because your dad didn't adopt your step-sib until she was 15, her and your dad's relationship wasn't meaningful, which is total bullshit and makes me suspect you're a mean a-hole.
I mean,
I think that is a potential outcome of this.
yeah, it sounds harsh, but I absolutely see what this is coming
It's
from.
either OP devalues their adoptive sibling because they're adopted, or there is a genuine reason why they don't get on. Either adoptive sibling has done something, or they really just never connected. But you think if they never really connected, a commemorative trip for their combined
Would
dad,
therefore
you'd
be-
still want to invite them. I would still
Exactly.
invite them, even if we weren't that close.
Yeah,
It just,
unless, do you know what can typically happen in these situations? I'm speaking as someone who's come from a very complicated sort of family structure. I know a lot of people who have also had experiences with step siblings, this sense of bio-sibling hierarchy,
Yeah.
also adopted parents, right?
Mhm.
It is so common in these situations for people to be, I want to say brainwashed because that sounds like a really harsh term,
Mm.
but it's probably the best term for you to understand what I'm saying, to have a picture painted about a person that you don't really know by someone else.
Yeah.
It is entirely probable that OP's mum,
Yes.
bio mum, if this
Yeah.
phrase we're going to use, right, hates the fact that this has happened.
Dad remarried.
Maybe because of that has painted, whether it's conscious or not, a really negative picture of stepmom and also this child,
It's
and
possible.
has forced or somehow contributed to the fact that there's not a fantastic bond between them. Because what I read about this, and what's a fantastic point that this commenter has brought up, is how at 11 years old is it your fault that you don't have a connection with those siblings?
Yeah.
At 11 years old, you are not in control. I don't know. Something's feeling fishy here. Hello, Poe. Our little cat has come to join us.
Hey, baby.
I was giving little kissy faces to him from afar because he was like, "Can I get cuddled?" So if you're hearing some like fluff, this is why. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, like it is definitely a kind of stereotype that often the kids in a divorce can reject the step family, whether
Yeah.
that step kid's a step parent.
It's
That can
equally a
happen.
stereotype that stepchild coming in can be really horrible because
Yes.
it's a huge adjustment that they'll need to make. But I am also a big proponent of we are allowed to grow as people. We should be given
Yeah.
the grace to grow. The person that I am now is very different to the person that I was at the age of 11.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like with your dad passing and with the
It just-
justifications given, something is not sitting
Yeah,
right.
it just seems that there's not enough of a reason, and the
Yeah.
reason given just seems a bit lame.
I wonder if OP has said anything. This commenter said, "I was adopted, so I'm biased, but it's a sucky feeling being part of a family where no one wants you there."
That's really sad.
And to still feel that now, after your dad has passed and you're sort of like yearning for family and bond in that time, it's
Yeah.
not fantastic. You are the drama.
It's your trip, do what you want, but yes, you're being an asshole.
Mhm.
She's been part of your family for a decade. Yeah. I think this sums it
That's
up
it.
pretty well. Like, if that's the way you want to do the trip, do it. But you're being a butt. Like, unless there is a legit reason and adoptive sibling is just a really, really genuinely horrible person,
Yeah.
why are they not invited? Why are they seen as lesser than?
And let's talk about this you're being a butt statement, right? Because I feel like OP's come here, and I do genuinely feel this for a lot of, like these
There's a
forums that we
reason
look
you're
at.
here.
You're here thinking that you've done the right thing, and maybe you're not intentionally being a butt. And that's fine. Maybe this is going to be news for you, but I do hope that OP, instead of being like, oh, well, people don't get me, is instead going to be able to take this as an opportunity to really soul search and be like, okay, cool. So this isn't about being adopted. This is about something else. Why is that? And hopefully from that, mending can happen and second chances can happen. For, what do they say? There's like a quote about a first impression.
Oh, I don't know.
First impressions aren't always the best.
Yeah.
And especially when this much time has
Give
passed.
a chance for a second.
Yeah, dude.
And maybe there's also some introspection going to go on. It's going to be like, yeah, I am really biased because they're adopted. I do have a thing against that. So, it could be realizing it's nothing to do with the adoption and it's the connection, or it is they just don't see them as a real sibling because of the adoption, and that requires some soul searching as to why.
Yeah. It's just this phrase, like the more I think about it, as we were when we were kids. When you were kids.
When you were 15 and your youngest brother was 8, that's when your sister came into your life. Yeah. You were all kids at the same time.
I wonder as well if there's sort of like ways that this could be done separately but together. So maybe, this might sound like I'm trying to compromise too much. Maybe I'm doing that Shaaba thing of trying to play devil's advocate too much. But I could honestly see, and it depends, if you guys are not very close, if there is an awkwardness between it, because you're grieving too. Emotions are high, right? Between all of you siblings. And all of the siblings are like, no, we agree she doesn't deserve to be here. Yeah. Something's going on there, right? It might be that you guys do really want that space, in which case having that space for you guys, the 4 of you, to meet the day before and inviting your other sibling to come the remaining 4 days of a 5-day trip, that something like that would be understandable and not exclude. There are definite middle ground ways. Yeah. To, if you really feel that time is really important for you guys to be there without your adopted sibling, you can do both.
There's also, I had 2 more things to say. One, OP mentioned that this was a reconnection sibling trip. If you're close with your siblings, there's not a need to call it reconnecting. So there's clearly like a lack of closeness between the quote bio siblings as it is. So why is the lack of connection with the adoptive sibling treated differently? Yeah. And also there's a difference between the other 3 siblings agreeing to exclude and wanting to exclude adoptive sibling, and alternatively just agreeing that OP isn't an arsehole for excluding, because they might have been, well, if I planned it I would have invited her, but I don't think you're an arsehole for not.
I get it.
There's 2 different, that it's like they might think that it would be fine for her to be there, they would do it, but they don't. I do
hear you. I do think it hits a little bit different though when that sibling, the adopted sibling, has come out and been like, guys, I'm feeling a bit left out here. Yeah. And stepmom's gone, oh my god, I'm really angry. Yeah. And then the other siblings have gone, well, we get it. That's more than just
sorry, Apollo is scraping his little face on the lens.
Thank you, Apollo, for
Maybe
making
you're gonna
yourself
lie down.
very, very known.
You can stay here, you just need to settle so you don't ruin everything.
He's been a right pain today.
He just wants to be in our line of vision. He's like, you must observe me. I am the most important thing. Yeah.
I wonder where that's coming from, because Apollo has an adopted sibling as well. I'm being crass, but I really hope that this can work itself out. Oh my god, I've just seen the next comment. One comment has just said, you're a huge gaping arsehole.
Wow.
See, this is not constructive criticism.
Yeah, it's got 830 upvotes. No, this is a bit far.
Best of luck, OP. I'm really hoping you can do some internal soul searching, and I'm hoping that through the departing of one loved one, there can be reconnection in other ways. This feels like a really prime opportunity to really get to know each other, and I wish you the best of luck. Am I the drama for leaving my sister's wedding halfway through because of how she treated my daughter?
This is one of those ones where you just don't know from the title, because yeah, you could be, but also no, you might not be. It really depends.
Leaving a sibling's wedding is a big deal.
It is a big deal, but there are justified reasons.
And like, was it mid-ceremony where you were like, I object?
No, just,
I don't object, but
leaving.
I'm out here. Or was it like, in between the speeches? Was it after the cake cut? So many questions.
Yeah,
let's
should we read?
Yes.
OP says, I'm a 37-year-old woman and my younger sister is a 30-year-old woman who got married this past weekend.
Congratulations.
It was a big deal with a fancy venue, 300 plus people.
Whoa, that's a big wedding.
That's a big wedding. Black tie, dress code, all of that.
I mean, not for Asian standards, but for white people standards, because I'm assuming this is what it is. That is a big wedding.
My husband, a 40-year-old man, and I have a 12-year-old daughter. Aww. My daughter is very shy and has some mild sensory issues. Nothing major, but she gets overwhelmed by loud noises / crowds sometimes. Aww. I feel bad. that. When we RSVP'd, I specifically asked my sister if kids were welcome. She said yes. Oh no, I see where this is going.
Uh-oh.
Absolutely, she wanted my daughter there, even asked if she would hand her the bouquet during the ceremony.
Oh, that's really cute. I'm sad that this is on a drama because it goes wrong, but that is so adorable.
My daughter was so excited.
Stop.
She picked out a beautiful dress, practiced the handoff, and was looking forward to it for months.
How old is she, sorry?
12. The day of the wedding, everything started going sideways. As soon as we got there, one of the wedding planners told me that children were no longer allowed in the ceremony space because the couple, quote, wanted a more adult atmosphere.
Sorry, on the day of the wedding. So,
when
like,
you got
arrived.
There. What the
and they were
hell?
Like, no kids.
That's so bizarre. I was confused and said my daughter was literally part of the ceremony, but they brushed me off and told me to take it up with the bride.
Oh, okay.
I can't tell if this is a bad wedding planner venue or what's going on here.
Okay. How do we feel about kids at weddings?
Fine.
I also feel fine. We had kids at our wedding.
Yeah.
You have no qualms with kids at weddings.
No.
And you have no qualms at kidless weddings?
I totally understand why people don't want a crying baby in their ceremony, but whenever I've seen that happen, 99% of parents are so good at stepping out. Most people will want to leave their child at home. I'd much rather have my nearest and dearest at the wedding with their kids than them not be able to come because they couldn't find childcare or they couldn't afford it.
Or like one of them had to stay home with the child whilst the other one came, feeling not fantastic because their family unit isn't there.
I don't really judge childless weddings terribly.
It kind of sounds like you're judging childless weddings, and that's fine. It's your opinion.
I think where I maybe judge a bit is if you see people who are like, oh, because they're related to me, these kids who are actually not very well behaved could be at my wedding, but nobody else's children can be.
Okay, so that's going to be my third question.
Not a childless wedding then. Like if you're willing,
like, do you want kids or not?
Yeah, if you're willing to have kids just because they're related to you or a family member's put a particular amount of pressure for these specific kids to attend, just let people bring their damn kids.
That is so interesting. I never thought about it that way. For me personally, my viewpoints is I like kids. I like the ambience that kids have.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, the biggest issue for me with childless weddings, and I don't have an issue with childless weddings, so let me just preface it with that. My issue is overall is this strive for perfection. Typically when people have childless weddings, because they're like, no, I want everything to go off without a hitch. And I'm like, you are totally missing the point of what a wedding is supposed to be, which is a celebration with your loved ones.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if there's a baby crying or leaving a smelly nappy smell for your other guests in the pew. All of that to me adds to the beauty of the day.
But I'm also,
Do you know what I mean?
if I'm close to somebody and they have kids, I'm likely going to be close to their kids.
Yeah,
so I
you
want them at the wedding.
Yeah, I'm with you. So that's what I dispute. Like when the intention is because it's like trying to make this like unattainable standard of what a wedding should look like, which might not actually be what the couple themselves want.
Yeah.
But they're doing it for societal norms.
Yeah.
That annoys me. However, I have heard many a couple say, you know what, we're doing a childless wedding because a lot of people like to drink and they actually like when we say childless weddings because it gives them the opportunity to have a night out away from their kids.
But I think you have that anyway. If we got invited to a wedding, depending on the age of our kids and what we wanted to do, whether it was childless or not, I would probably find childcare.
Oh yeah, right, because then you can then decide. Is what
you don't
saying.
need the couple to say childless for you to leave your child at home.
Yeah, I hear you. You know what? I totally hear that point and I'm with you. Where my head was going was, I think it's interesting because I do think some people feel like, okay, well then I have to bring my kid because my kid's invited. And then it changes it, you know, like I can't dance. I can't let loose and have the 20 shots of tequila rosé that I was planning on.
Don't do that.
Because I've got to have my kid there.
Well, that's a hang up from the individual parent.
I'm with you. Or
I'm
you can
very
have, like,
non-sympathetic right now.
The big thing though that I'm like very confused about this situation is if it's a childless wedding, you need to tell people in advance.
Yeah.
Way in advance.
Not on a date, and especially
when they're involved in the ceremony.
My thing with childless weddings as well is what's the cutoff? Because I would say 12 would still be allowed. Because in my head, I'm always like childless means like the babies to like the 9-10-year-olds that are gonna still be running around a bit.
If they're gonna sit down and eat a 3-course meal with you,
then they can go.
Then they should
even
go.
if they're technically under 18. Because what is a 14-year-old a child and not allowed at a childless wedding?
And then what is that age barrier? I remember when we
technically
had our
yes, a child.
We were like, well, what is it? Because
yeah.
they had access to a different menu, but then all the kids at our wedding also just didn't want the chicken nuggets. They wanted the
meal.
Meals.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very interesting conversation. Peaches, do you have any opinions on children at weddings? I would love to know.
And imagine finding out on the day.
Thing. That is a big no-no.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Do they have a crash service?
Yeah. I found my sister and she said coldly, oh yeah, we changed our minds. Sorry, just leave your daughter with the other kids in the kids' room. There was a separate room for kids with babysitters. My daughter overheard and started crying. She was absolutely crushed.
One, this is really sad. Two, if this is an actual quote, imagine saying just leave your daughter about your own niece. Surely you'd say just leave little Margaret.
Little Margaret. But do you know what else? I feel like as a parent, I would want to know in advance if a stranger was going to be looking after my child for the day.
There was a separate room for kids. Okay.
With babysitters.
Okay, I thought that meant there was a room for kids and then there was a room for kids that had babysitters with them. No. They're saying there was a separate room for kids that had babysitters inside.
Yeah.
So you knew in advance to organise babysitters, but not in advance to tell people.
Also,
no.
She's 12. Like, this isn't a 3-year-old. This isn't somebody that is going to disrupt the process. You literally asked her to be part of the wedding. That's really sad.
This is really sad. What's also sad about it is, like, I have so many questions. How long is she supposed to be in that room for?
Yeah.
Like,
just
is
the
this
ceremony,
just for the ceremony and then she can join for the reception?
Or do they
is this
eat
for
in
the
there?
whole day?
Yeah, because parents might have rathered to leave their kid with a trusted family member at home.
I would much rather do that than leave them here where they're not prepared.
Yeah.
They're expecting to see a wedding. If not, they're being put in a room. Like, does the
with
room
a
have
stranger?
Stuff? Does it have toys and books?
Yeah.
Is it equipped?
Why
to
am
be
I
with kids?
dragging my child all the way to a wedding when they're not even allowed to attend?
My child?
Exactly.
Right. I would my kid would much rather. It's like, we don't have kids right now. Human kids. We have cats. I'm just like,
do you ever think of the cats?
Literally right now I was thinking of the cats.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking I would much rather, and I know they would much rather be at home with someone that they know looking after them.
We know that cats aren't human children.
We are so sounding like those people right now. But we are also caring for family. Do you know what I mean? Like, we know family too. It's not something that you would do. This is so
I'm already
using the phrase again, tone deaf.
Like, the sister is a massive booty hole.
There is like one tiny piece of grace that I'm giving to her. She is a bride. She's going to be very stressed on the morning of her wedding
You can
day.
tell your sister that her daughter...
1 second. Thus, the way that it's come out. So being like, you know, just leave with your kid with the other kids in the room kind of thing. Okay.
I don't know.
The fact that you didn't tell people before they came, not okay.
This just strikes me as very, like, cold and emotionless.
She was crushed, Jamie. She
was crushed. Okay, I'm going to carry on.
Yeah.
I pulled my sister aside and said this was incredibly unfair, especially since she had asked her to participate and got her hopes up.
And this puts you in an awkward position because you're like, okay, I get that this is your wedding and I don't mean to make things stressful for you, but like, you have left me no choice but to cause a fuss on your wedding day.
OP continues, my sister just shrugged and said, it's my wedding, things change, I can't cater to everyone's kids.
No, you can't. So you don't freaking bring them. You tell people if you're not going to allow them to be there.
I really don't like this sister. I really don't like her. She's just giving me horrible vibes.
3 sides to every story.
Uh-huh.
So this is also coming from the person who is upset.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's not coming across great, is it?
I was so livid, but tried to stay calm for my daughter's sake. We stayed for the cocktail hour to be polite, but during the reception, they kept playing loud club music and flashing strobe lights, and my daughter was miserable.
Oh, wait, so the kid was in the reception room?
I assumed that they got out at the reception, because hold on. Yeah, no one came to check on the kids. The kids' room turned out to just be a storage room with folding chairs and some colouring books. No real supervision.
Wait, so there were no babysitters?
Or there were, but they weren't in there permanently. They were just people that worked
after the ceremony?
Yeah.
Okay, 1, that's a hot mess. 2, that is not okay to leave kids alone in a storage room. What else is in a storage room of a venue that you've never been in before?
Yeah.
That deals with events and could have shop things. This is so dumb. 3, I would have left a long time ago.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So they stayed for the reception or part of it. Because I'm assuming when they say reception, they mean the bit after the ceremony. Yeah,
like
because
the bit with the
you don't
food.
play loud club music during.
Maybe what they're saying is like the daughter was miserable because she couldn't be part of that. She could hear the music and see the lights from afar.
Yeah, or she felt overwhelmed by that. But I think when you're
that too.
If you're somebody, I don't know about other people, but for me, with getting like overwhelmed in a sensory capacity, it can definitely be heightened if I'm anxious or upset.
Which of course you're going to be when you're alone.
Yeah, which this kid's gonna be because she's been hurt that she's not being part of her aunt's wedding in the way she was promised, and she's been left with strangers in a weird storage room.
Practicing for
what? Anyway.
With other kids as well. Ew.
OP continues. At that point, my husband and I agreed to just leave. We quietly said goodbye to my parents who supported our decision, got my daughter and went home. I would have gone home a lot earlier.
Do you know what I would have done, actually?
They stayed for the main bit of the wedding.
Yeah, you've done the ceremony, which I understand you've sort of attended for that moment. I would have been like, right, we need to call around and find an emergency babysitter who our kid knows. I'd have called our friends who didn't know my sister to be like, hey, can you take Tiny Margaret?
I'm not staying.
And then I would have gone and dropped off Tiny Margaret and then come back.
No,
this is sister's wedding, and then I'd have said afterwards, I'm annoyed.
Totally disagree with you.
That's what I would have done because it's still my sister's wedding.
No, I would have gone. Because why am I now having to call last minute and probably pay a premium for childcare because you changed your mind and didn't bother to tell me about your own niece?
I do hear you.
No.
And if this were an ordinary day, I maybe would have been more caring about it. But I'm just saying that's my line because I would want to attend all of my sister's wedding.
Okay, if you wanted to, then I, as your husband, like say this actually happened to us.
Yeah. You'd be like, I'm going home with a kid.
I would take our kid home.
And I say, totally understand.
No, I wouldn't be mad at you. Yeah,
well,
I'd understand where you're coming from.
We're talking over each other a lot right now. Sorry.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Now my sister is furious. She says I, quote, ruined her wedding by making a scene.
Did you make a scene?
We didn't. We left quietly.
Oh.
And that I couldn't put aside my pride for one night.
Well, you can put aside your
Why couldn't you have a
rule to having a
12-year-old in a ceremony? Jesus Christ. Some of her friends are messaging me saying I'm a selfish brat who made her big day about me.
How ridiculous. Do you know what's ridiculous about that? Whenever I see like these big blow-ups that happen post-weddings, I'm like, why was this such a big deal to you, bride? That you have turned everyone away against this one person. You are making this
your
entire wedding about this situation.
Yeah. And do you know what else you're doing? It feels like Opie's sister is scrambling around telling everybody her opinion of the situation.
That is so rude.
To get in there first.
This perfectly full circle to our gossiping thing at the beginning. Red flag.
This is bad gossip because it's also
Bridezilla.
It's untrue.
It is.
If we are to trust OP, which is what we need to do in these situations.
But it also, I think, just shows that friends are really dumb. Like I wouldn't trust this friendship group because if someone's going and then they made a scene, I'd be like, well, I was at the wedding. I was with you the whole time. I didn't see a scene.
I didn't even notice that they left, you know?
Aye. And they left during the reception. So they were there.
Lots of people leave at the reception. And lots of people with kids leave at the reception.
This is so confusing to me.
For the record, I didn't post anything online, didn't shit talk her to guests, and didn't even mention the situation to anyone but my parents.
Good egg.
But now I'm
brownie
wondering,
badge for you.
Should I have just sucked up for the night? No.
No, you definitely should. Well,
some people
you know
might have, but you as an individual chose not to because you didn't like the disrespect, which is totally fair. You were not an asshole for leaving.
Not the drama. That's my badge.
Not
big,
the
big,
drama.
big, not the drama.
Your sister gets a moldy brownie.
Your sister is
and her friends get a moldy brownie.
There's a lot of moldy brownies.
I don't know. It depends on exactly what they've been told. They might have thought they missed the scene at the wedding.
May I also say, you kind of did suck it up for the night.
You did.
When you're like, oh, should I have just sucked it up? You did. You were there for so long. Your kid was so sad. And I totally agree with you, especially hearing about the sensory issues. The fact about the club music and the strobe lights will be because a kid has sensory issues, is being overwhelmed. Poor tiny Margaret. That is not...
Love how you've made this kid Margaret.
It's not... I was annoyed that our first story did not have a name. So this helps. I'm sad for Margaret's behalf. I'm sad on your behalf because you as well and your family should have just been able to enjoy the wedding.
Yeah.
And you did everything right. You didn't make a scene. You asked someone that you trusted for advice who was like, yeah, I think you should go. You're right. And you stayed longer than... Honestly, my patience would have.
When I read the title, I thought you were going to have left before, during, or just after the ceremony. The fact that you stayed for the ceremony, like the little bitey bits after, I'm assuming if there were, and that would also include the wedding breakfast.
Canapes are now called little bitey bits.
There you
heard
go.
it here first.
And into the reception. You stayed for like the main bulk of the wedding. Honestly, by the time the reception hits.
No, I mean, it's still an important part.
No, it's still an important
part where you can
part,
celebrate,
but
you can actually have a chat. Perhaps they left before the cake cutting. Perhaps they left before the first dance, which can be important moments.
Screw the cake cut on the first
weddings.
dance of somebody who's being such a butt.
I'm sorry. If you can't give any ounce of consideration to my tiny being...
Yeah. Why am I here?
Pog Margaret, why should I give an ounce of consideration to your wheat?
And you know what else? The sister put not just the relationship with her sister, but the relationship with her niece above. She was like, no, I don't care if I mess up these relationships. I don't want children in my ceremony. Like, literally, Margaret is not going to forget that. I bet you it's going to impact the relationship between auntie and niece.
What I was going to say was, I'm normally really like about people who try to enforce a status quo. I'm like, no, if the bride and groom want something to happen, it's their freaking day, you allow it to happen.
Right.
I feel like I'm surprising myself with how much I'm like, no, the bride should have compromised in this
It's because
position.
she changed the goalposts.
You did, and you didn't give people time to prepare, and it's really unfair. You absolutely, in this moment, with her being there, and I'm sure if the kid overheard that conversation, then the bride would have overheard that kid crying and being crushed. How dare you? How dare you piss off little Margaret in that way?
Poor little Margaret.
Poor Margaret.
I want to send Margaret a cookie.
It sucks. I hope she apologizes. And it's this behavior afterwards that makes me really, really dislike her.
Because
that's kind of worse than the initial decision.
I'm sorry. OP's sister should be apologizing to her. Should be saying, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot to let people know in advance because I was swept up with wedding planning.
And that's fine.
I was a dick on the day because I was really super stressed. I'm so damn sorry that you felt like you had to leave early and that we didn't let Margaret be part. That's how things can be repaired.
And do you know what entirely changes this for me? And I don't know if this is the case. If that child in any way has support needs that leads and contributes to that sensory issue. The fact that you would leave a child, any child to be fair, alone, unsupervised in an unknown place without giving the parents any kind of like credible reassurance. No, big
Not
no.
okay.
But specifically if they have sensory issues and you're separating them because they have some form of neurodivergence or they're autistic in some way. Oh my God. The way that like Mama Shaaba would turn into a total annihilating bitch. No, that's not.
Wow.
It's very rude. And then for you to like go around prancing around and being like, oh, look at the scene they made, when it sounds like from OP's point of view, they did things exactly as I believe they should.
OP's sister sounds selfish and self-absorbed, and I wouldn't want anything to do with that kind of person.
I don't have time for that kind of behavior.
Yeah,
to keep the peace, which is a saying that often triggers me here. Anyway, but to keep the peace, I can understand why you stayed as long as you did. I'll give you a medal for that. But yeah, I think this would definitely affect my ongoing relationship with my sibling, as well as my little nephews, nieces, Margaret's.
Yeah.
Margaret.
Should we see what other people have to say?
If anyone else has something negative to say about this, like against OP, I'd be very confused. Your sister is a biatch with main character syndrome.
Yes.
Wants to play the victim.
That's a perfect way to sum that up. Yeah.
Good God, she sounds exhausting. You'll have to do what is necessary for your own peace of mind. But I know in this scenario that I just don't have mental bandwidth to deal with people like this. Not the drama.
Yeah,
exactly.
I honestly feel...
Stick them in the bin.
I feel so similar to this. Yeah. This resonates with me.
And like OP's what, 40?
Yeah.
OP's got a lot of life experience. I feel like in my age now, I'm just coming to terms with, you know what? If it's not worth my time, I'm being so brutal now. I can't wait until I'm 40 to see how rugged I get with that, to be like, you know? So, what?
What if I leave a sock on the floor?
I'm not going to tolerate that. You know what I mean?
I know I'm joking with you. It would have to be 2 socks.
I totally agree with this.
Sorry.
Not the drama.
That was horrible of your sister, very callous and hurtful.
Yeah.
And someone else has said, your sister is a piece of shit, her friends are enablers, not the drama. Yeah, I'm actually so glad that everybody's echoing exactly what I thought.
It's funny that you say echoing, because my words just now are like these echo chambers. I think we talk about echo chambers a lot online, but it's really important to acknowledge and recognize where they are happening IRL, because both of these situations now, the first one with all of the quote-unquote bio-siblings being in their little echo chamber, it did make me think like how empowering it can feel when you're wrong and how easy it is to not be fully informed and close your mind because other people are like G'ing you on, like you know, that's exactly what's happening here with the friends. I don't know which direction that's going in. It might be that it's entirely symbiotic. Regardless, it's not okay. And that's what leads to like the most toxic of environments, not the drama at all.
You did the right thing by your daughter.
You did.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it does always frame things slightly differently when there's a child involved that somebody's very protective over.
I mean, you've got to duty of care for your kid, babe. Your kid has not been well looked after. You've been sold something that entirely didn't come true. You need to look after your little squish.
Squishy Margaret.
Squishy Margaret. Not the drama.
I'd have left sooner, honestly. Yeah, same. I'd have left so much sooner.
Drama. All right, our final submission today is from a fellow Peach. Thank you so much for submitting via our subreddit, 1-800-DRAMA. If you, fellow Peach listening to this podcast, would like to submit your own drama or help a fellow Peach out by giving them advice, because there's so many posts on there. We can't get through everything on this podcast. Yeah. I'm sure every post would absolutely appreciate your advice. Please feel free to pop them on.
Am I the drama for killing my pets?
Oh my God, that is a big one.
Okay, interesting.
Let's see if we can help the Peach out.
Yes. Take it away, Shaaba.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Peach. My name is Owen, and I'm a 30-year-old Ebby. My pets are my entire world. My children are 3 cats, a leopard gecko, and a tarantula.
Wow.
Sorry, my brain locked onto the word leopard, and I was like, what? Okay, so leopard, pets of the world.
Gecko.
Kids are pets, 3 cats, a leopard gecko, and a tarantula. Yeah. Okay, I love to love creepy crawlies in bunnies, which I affectionately call my cutie crawlies, says Owen.
Oh my God.
That is adorable. I'm having to reserve a little bit of like adoration because of the title. Let's see where it goes. Last September, says Owen, I went to my first reptile expo and I got 3 beautiful tarantula ladies.
Ooh.
That's so cute. I spent a long time researching the proper care for each of my girls. I constantly reviewed and compared information to make sure that they received the best care. In March, I found that Jerry had passed away.
Aww.
She was a baby, a year old, whereas adults are about 5+ years and they typically live until 20 as women.
Whoa.
I had no idea about that.
I didn't know. I did not know that tarantulas lived that long. Damn.
Can I just sidetrack now, real quick? How do you feel about creepy crawly pets?
Not for me, but cool.
You're okay with
I
it?
don't mind other people having them.
Some people have like a big ick. I'm very open-minded.
Oh no, I don't have an ick about other people having the pets. I just personally wouldn't.
Milk snake.
Did you?
Yeah, for a little while, yeah. It was, I don't know, like I love a good creepy crawly. I am a bit scared of spiders though, but if somebody had a tarantula in an enclosure,
in a tub,
you do you.
Yeah, my favourite types of pets are like cats and the ones that can free roam your house. Does that make sense? Like pets that need to be in an enclosure. And I'm not talking about like animal cruelty thing here.
No,
There's obviously
just,
really humane ways to keep them.
Yeah.
But it's just like I love the idea of like my pet just being able to come and like jump on my bed and give me a cuddle rather than me always having to go to them.
Yeah.
Maybe
I guess sometimes
lazy.
like tarantulas do come out and like can free roam a house.
Okay.
I mean, assuming that's the case because in Home Alone. No.
I feel like it's not the case.
Was in Home Alone?
That's because it broke. It was on the shelf and it broke. It wasn't supposed to.
Oh, my bad. Ignore me. I do not know anything. Please do not take any advice from me about cutie crawly pets. I was devastated and I cried every day for 2 weeks, says Owen. I'm so sorry. I painted her a memorial rock and I buried her in the flower garden. There are several reasons I know that she could have passed, but statistically, it isn't uncommon for babies to not make it into adulthood. Okay, so you don't know why.
Yeah.
But also, this isn't super duper rare.
Yeah.
Tarantulas can go months without eating, especially before molting. My girl Sunny hadn't eaten in months. Oh no. But based on everything else, her energy, reflexes, enclosure parameters being good, it was likely that she was due for a molt. Okay, in late April, I checked in on the girls in the morning and I found out that my love Sunny had also passed. No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Owen. I was beside myself. I loved her so much. She also has a memorial rock and is buried with the sunflowers.
Okay.
I don't have anyone in my life who has pets like mine who can appreciate how I feel. A lot of people that I know don't see the same value as I do in my cutie crawlies. That's really sad. I personally would not want a tarantula as a pet, but I can understand a pet is a pet, especially if a being is with you for like years.
I think anybody who has a pet and knows what that connection can feel like, whether it's from a goldfish to a golden retriever, it does not matter. Yeah. People can feel just as much connection to their tarantula as they can feel to their whippet. Yeah. Like, it really bugs me when people have this hierarchy of like, your pet isn't as important as mine. Why are you so upset?
Because of species. Like, it's so dumb. And I also understand why pets are different to kids.
Yes.
I do understand that there is a difference between a human.
But for people who don't want kids, like human children, and
exactly
have pets, our besties have a golden retriever.
Oh my God.
They don't want human kids. That golden retriever is their child.
1,000,000%.
And I totally see the difference in that for them than people who have both a dog and human children.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, like, it really pisses me off, just building on your bugbear there. Bugbear.
Bugbear.
When people are like, no, sorry, your cat passed. It's just a pet.
I'm sorry.
No. Anyway, should we continue reading?
I still tear up when I think about Benji. And it's been, what, like 5 years now?
I think the people who don't understand that are people who have never experienced the true love and like companionship of what a pet can provide.
I was devastated at every hamster and rabbit and I remember all of them.
Owen continues and says, my last tarantula, Sneech, is doing well. She is amazing. Sneech is such a cute name. I worry though, says Owen, that I am cursed. I love all of my pets equally and I'd love to learn about new species and to constantly increase their level of care as I learn. I'm taking a step back from getting new pets until I upgrade Sneech and Rogelio, the gecko, Rogelio, their tanks into bioactive terrariums. These tanks will become tiny self-sustaining ecosystems, live plants, isopods, and be able to also be as close to nature as possible.
That's really cool.
So, am I the drama for killing my pets? Am I the drama for one day wanting to expand my pet family again? Do I deserve new pets, or do I deserve to suffer and atone for their early deaths? Owen, I would do anything to bring my beautiful spider girls back.
I mean,
I don't think you're the drama.
I don't think you're the drama. Obviously, like, neither of us are experts in spider care, so
I don't think you need to be a spider care expert though.
No, I'm just saying, so like I can't sit here and say for sure whether anything you did contributed because we also don't have enough information. But given that you did a lot of research, one of your spiders is still alive and thriving, and it isn't uncommon for them not to make it into adulthood.
It's that last point.
It sounds more like you just got unlucky with Jerry and Sunny.
To a noob like me, I totally agree with what Jamie's saying, and I do think it sounds like you did everything you can. The one thing that I would want to clarify that hasn't been mentioned here, I don't think, is when Jerry passed away and then Sunny also wasn't eating, did you go to the vets? And now that Sunny has passed away, have you since gone to the vets? Because I feel like speaking to a proper expert on tarantula care who will know this day in, day out, will be able to give you some reassurance and let you know this isn't because of you, babe. You're doing everything right. Sometimes it happens. Or actually, this is what has caused that. And therefore, like reassess to make sure that little Sneech is all good and any future pets that you might get, you're treating with the utmost care that they should be having.
I totally agree. I think speaking to an expert in this care, you could even go to like a local animal sanctuary who might have a reptile section or like a farm that has a reptile section. Vets will have somebody or a contact that you can go to. There must be like a specialist in reptiles or cutie crawlies as you call them.
What's the word for that? Like a mammal versus a reptile versus an amphibian versus an insect. What are they? What's the category? I don't know the word. Maybe it'll come to us.
So I definitely think, Owen, you're being too hard on yourself.
Yes.
I think if you want to make sure that you minimize the risk of anything like this happening again, speak to an expert, make sure that you are doing everything as well as you can be doing. And I really don't think you're the drama in this current situation. And I don't think you'd be the drama for one day wanting to expand how many pets you have in your family in the future.
Yeah, I definitely feel that you are deserving of new pets. And you know what? Other people may disagree. This may be a hot take. I think even if you realize that maybe you were in some way the drama for causing, even if it was in part, Jerry and Sunny's passings, then you still do deserve new pets, because it's not like you did it with negative intention. It's not like you were like, yes, I'm going to murder tarantulas today. You did everything that you could, and just because something happened doesn't mean that we can't grow from that experience and give new beings love and care the correct way.
It's not like when people get a dog and leave it chained up outside all day and don't give it enough food and water. That's clearly
everything
negligent.
that you could that you knew from it's definitely what it sounds like. The only thing is I would just speak to a vet, and I'm honestly, because of the amount of efforts that you've put in of research, because of the things that I have learned from your post, I'm kind of getting the vibe that you do understand how to take care of your cutie crawlies, in which case I really just think mostly speaking to an expert will just provide you with the reassurance that this is not your fault.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Oh, best of luck though, Sweet Pea. Yes, not the drama, Owen. Not the drama at all. Hugs to Sneech. Do you know what this made me think of? When we were in our first flat together, when we were at uni, got hamsters.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie's like, I want a dog. And I was like, we can't have a dog. And then you were like, I want a cat. And we were like, not yet, we're not ready. But we did feel like we could take on a hamster.
I wanted hamsters.
So we went to go and view these tiny, tiny baby hamsters. I've never seen them. They were like just born. They were so tiny. I remember that lady opening the shoebox. Do you remember? She lived in that little apartment above Claire's.
Yeah.
And like these little jelly beans were just jumping out. And we were like, like putting them all back in again. And Jamie found your hamster, which he absolutely loved. He was named Eagle. And I found this tiny, tiny runt of the litter who was the cutest little bean. He fell out of the box and then immediately peed. And I was like, I have to take him. He's so cute. So we ended up going away with 2 hamsters, and I called mine Pistachio, but really it was because he peed. And he was so, so adorable. And we loved them both, and we took care of them so well. And Pistachio did die earlier.
Yeah, but within the typical time frame.
Well,
Eagle lived more to the maximum time length of a hamster.
Yeah, whereas Pistachio did die earlier. We did the exact same thing. We both cared and loved these little hamsters so much. And it annoyed me because I was really sad that little Piss had passed away. And I was like, rest in peace, Piss. Pistachio. I used his full name. You know when you like do those little Facebook posts? It was like the little photos of me with my tiny Pistachio, and little Pistachio just having a good time with his cucumber. You know, like I'd done one of those cute little posts to be like, I'm letting the world know that this has happened. And this one cow messaged and was just like, I think that's your fault. Hamsters don't die that soon. And I was feeling really bad because I was like, did I do something? And I didn't. I know I didn't. Yeah. We looked after them exactly the same. And
he was always a bit smaller, and
he was the absolute runt of the litter. He was like half the size of the other jelly beans, and he clearly had something wrong with him, bless. And he bit my sister once.
Yeah.
Shout out to Maddie, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He was like, except Prawn's big.
I can't help but try and, like be a fixer to the little outcasts, and he was certainly an outcast. The point is, I know we did a good job because we ended up making friends with the gorgeous little being, the human being that had the hamsters, and then we we ended up adopting the two parents.
Yeah.
Do you remember? And she was adopting a dog. There was all of these things. I know we looked after them well, to the point where we had more, and that did not deter us from getting other pets.
Yeah.
If you are doing what you know is the right thing to do, sometimes things happen. Hugs to
Very
you,
true.
Owen. Ah,
Hugs to you, Owen.
this has been a fun episode.
This
I'm
has
sorry to be
been-
leaving it on a sadder note. with
Yeah,
Owen.
but we only had one drama.
Only one drama.
Yeah,
Yes, for
so
sure.
it definitely picked up in positivity for you.
Yes, Peaches, if you enjoyed this episode, as always, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this over on Spotify, Apple, where other podcasts can be found. You can give this little episode a rating as well as a podcast overall. You can rate every single episode.
Yes.
And it really helps us out if
Ratings
you do that.
really do help, and please remember to go check out our subreddit at 1-800-DRAMA, and you can help other Peaches with their stories, or you can share your own if you want some advice on anything. If you're listening to this on YouTube, think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing to
For
the
sure.
channel and leaving a little comment to join the discussion.
And if you're wanting a little bop, maybe consider pre-saving Staying Greedy. I will pop the link downstairs in the
I
description
wonder what
box.
you meant by a bop, but I get it. I thought you meant like a
Oh,
bop
bop.
on the head, but you mean a musical bop. Yeah,
I
that
will
makes
not.
more sense.
I will not bop you physically,
No,
but I don't know.
you will bop the eardrums in a pleasant way.
You may bop your head to the tune that
Oh.
I wrote about being bopped on the head by society's fucked upness right now.
Love
Enjoy.
it.
Be kind
Much
and
love.
have a great day.
Bye.